Okay, let's take a look at percentages. So let's say you have something like 32%. What that means mathematically is 32 divided by 100. And you know that dividing something by 100 is the same as multiplying something by 1 over 100. 1 over 100, you know, is 0.01. And you know how to multiply 32 times 0.01. You just move the decimal place on 32 left 2 units. So this line of things are all equal to each other. 32% is the same thing as 32 over 100, and that's the same thing as 32 times 1 over 100, and that's the same thing as 32 times 0.01, and that is the same thing as 0.32. Now the two things on this list that we're really concerned about are this number here and this number here. 32% is called percent notation. And 0.32 is called decimal notation. So just as a really quick example, if you have something like 6%, you can write that as 0.06 very easily. We just move the decimal place on 6 to the left twice to get 0.06. And again, this one right here is percent notation. That one right there is decimal notation. What we want to be able to do next is we want to be able to solve simple word problems like the one I have written here. 35 is what percent of 291? And the key to solving these very simple word problems is going to be knowing how to translate the words, the English words in this problem to mathematical symbols. So I'll make a little list for you. Off to the side here, anytime you see is in an equation, or was, or something like that, that's going to convert to an equal sign. Anytime you see the word what or which or something like that, that's going to convert to your variable. And your variable can be anything you want it to be, x, y, m, n, whatever letter you decide. Anytime you see the word of in a word problem, that's going to be converted into multiplication. So I'll just write the word multiplication. Multiply. Let's use these conversions to change this question into a mathematical equation. So 35, just going to copy down, is becomes an equal sign. What percent? It's asking you what percent you're looking for, so you can just call that a variable. In this case, I'm going to call that an n. Of is multiplication, so I'll put a little dot there for multiplication, and 291. 291. So we've converted our question into a mathematical equation. Now the key is solving that for the unknown. So since n is being multiplied by a 291, to get n by itself, you divide both sides of the equation by 291. The 291s cancel. On the right, you just get n by itself. And on the left, you have 35 divided by 291. So the key to finding what n is, what percent we're looking for, is division of 35 by 291. Now you, of course, can do this with the calculator. Depends on what teacher you have, but there's a very good chance you might have to do this division by hand. So if you want some review of long division with these types of decimals and things like that, go to the linked video. And I'm just going to do it really fast on the side here. So we have 35, that's the numerator. That's going to go as your dividend, they call it. Your divisor is going to be 291. And since the number inside the dividend is smaller than the divisor, what you're going to do is you're going to put a decimal place and put as many zeros in there as you want. The question is, how many times does 291 go into 350? The answer is once. Multiply the 1 by 291 and subtract. When you subtract, I believe you get 59. When you bring down your next number, that's a 0. And how many times does 291 go into 590? That's twice. 2 times 291 is going to be a 2 and 18. You carry the 1. You subtract, and you're going to get 80. And you can keep going as far as you want. How many times does 291 go into 80? It doesn't go in at all. So what we do is we extend this a little further. And the question is, how many times does 291 go into 800? And you could continue this as long as you want. I'm just going to keep it there. So we did the division, and 35 divided by 291 turned out to be 0.120. So n is 0.120. The question is, what percent is 35 is what percent of 291? So we want to convert this to percent notation, which just simply means we're going to take that decimal and we're going to move it twice to the right. We're going to get 12.0%. And that's the answer. 35 is 12.0% of 291. The next step in dealing with percentages is solving actual word problems. So something like this. Car A advertises 22% better fuel efficiency than car B. Car B gets 31 miles per gallon. What gas mileage does car A get? So the key in solving all of these types of problems is taking all this information in, using your English and your reasoning skills to reduce it down to a sentence that looks just like this. 35 is what percent of 291? Now this sentence that we write down doesn't necessarily have to directly solve the problem. It just needs to help us solve the problem. So what we really need to do is write down a question, the main question that's going to help us solve this problem. So let's think about it for a minute. See if you can write down an easy question that we're going to solve that will help us solve this problem. Okay, the question that I'm coming up with is, what is 22% of 31 miles per gallon? If we know what 22% of 31 miles per gallon is, then that's going to at least get us a start, and we'll finish solving the problem with simple addition. But let's see what happens here. What is 22% of 31? So I'm going to call my unknown n again. What is an equal sign. 22% is actually going to be written as 0.22. We're going to move the decimal place to convert this to decimal notation. Of is multiplication, 31. So this is really simple now. N is 0.22 times 31. And if you have a calculator, you can type that in really quickly. And again, it's very likely that you'll have to do this by hand. So 31 times 0.22. If you want review of multiplication of decimals, go to our linked video. I'm just going to do this really quickly. 31 times 2 is 62. 0. That's going to be another 62. Add it up. We have two numbers to the right of decimals, so we want two numbers to the right of decimals in our answer. The answer, once you do the multiplication, is n equals 6.82. Now, what does that actually get us? It's not the answer, right? Because car A shouldn't have a gas mileage of 6.82 miles per gallon. But it actually is advertising 22% better fuel efficiency than 31 miles per gallon. So what we're going to do with that 6.82 is actually add it to the gas mileage of car B. So car A gets 31 plus 6.82 miles per gallon, which is, what is that, 37.82 miles per gallon. And that's our answer. And that's the way that we're going to solve pretty much all of these word problems. We're going to break down the word problem into a simple sentence that involves a percentage. And if you can solve for your unknown in that simple sentence, then you can use reasoning to figure out the answer to the question. Okay, let's get you a video quiz. Here it is. Better butter advertises 35% less calories per serving than butter. Butter has 75 calories per serving. How many calories are in a serving of better butter? And show your work. That means do the multiplication or division by hand just to prove that you can do it. Okay, good luck. Bring your solution to class.